now we're going to move on to our next panel, which is crowdfunding, campaign marketing, and PR, a very crucial piece of the crowdfunding business. And of course, these are the cornerstones of successful equity crowdfunding campaign. We're going to learn today from some of the experts in this space, and we're going to do a Q&A as well as a presentation. And I'll be walking around with this microphone, so at the time when they ask for questions, you raise your hand. Give me a moment to catch up with you so that we can hear your questions and get them recorded so you can have this for further use. But the moderator for this panel is one of the founders of this Crowd Invest Summit. Please welcome Joseph Holm. All right, there you go. Thank you.
All right, guys, don't be shy. Come up on stage. That's a good start.
I'm going to use that for questions.
All right, cool. All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the crowdfunding marketing panel. We did the same thing last year, and it was a big success. What we try to do here is make available to you crowdfunding experts who usually charge an arm and a leg to give their advice. But today, in this Q&A format, I would like for you to just raise your hand. We have Carlos running around with the mic. Interject your questions anytime you have them. We're not going to wait until the end because it just doesn't make much sense. I'm looking forward to providing as much information to you guys as possible. I would like to briefly introduce my panelists, and then they're going to talk about who they are and what to do in more detail. But I have Roy Morjan here. He is the president of Command Partners. This guy's been around crowdfunding longer than I have, longer than most people have. I think you started in the Kickstarter space. You do a lot in the equity space now. Extremely knowledgeable. We have Bill Houston here. He's from Our Crowd Rocks, also a very successful crowdfunding marketing agency. Jason Fishman, digital niche agency. He's the SVP over there. Also a great guy, good friend of mine. And then we wanted to give you the perspective, and maybe he can also explain some of the pain points of actually running a campaign. Eric here runs Box. He's the CEO of Box. They are, it's a really cool electrical scooter. You can check it out on the expo floor, actually. They are raising money on Start Engine right now. But before we get started, I want to give you all an opportunity to introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, everyone, for attending today and sticking it out. So yeah, my name is Roy Morjan, president of Command Partners. Last year, we merged with a product development company, Inventus, to be the first turnkey product launch agency in the world. And what that means is we have over 100 entrepreneurs and startups come to us every day with their idea, with their invention. And many of them fall victim to many of the pitfalls of being a first-time entrepreneur, not knowing where to go to build their initial prototype, build their initial product, brand, marketing, messaging, website, et cetera. So now we're able to hold their hand throughout the entire process and make sure that their campaign, whether it be reward-based or equity-based, is successful throughout. So as Joseph mentioned, the agency I started back in 2010. We ran our first crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter in 2011. Since then, we've run over 500 campaigns. We've raised over $125 million for our clients now to date.
Hello. My name is Bill Houston, and I'm the founder of Our Crowd Rocks, and we're a crowdfunding marketing and company. And what we do is we work mostly with Kickstarter and Indiegogo companies, and what we do is we build a crowd. We focus on building the crowd for the campaigns. One of the things that I think that's missing from crowdfunding is the crowd. People don't think about the crowd, they only think about the money and how they can use the money once they get the money. But what we talk about is the value of the crowd, the benefits that the crowd can bring to you, and why it's so vital to focus on building the crowd. And now we're moving into the equity space, so I'm really excited about that and glad to be here on this panel.
How you doing? Jason Fishman, SVP Digital Strategy for DNA. I am a marketer. I've been doing this for about 10 years and use data science to drive eyeballs. I've sat on all sides of the table, from agency, traditional agencies, digital agencies, creative agencies, what have you, to leading in-house marketing teams. Did that for a social gaming startup. And before this, spent the bulk of my career in ad tech. I love advertising. Advertising is a scalable form of marketing. We can identify pockets of performance and show drastic growth. I oversaw the product marketing division for a mobile and tablet advertising network, which meant I sat between advertisers and publishers and created ad units that users wanted to see. Got experience working with some of the many top 100 brands, brands including the entertainment space, travel space, e-commerce, automotive. Started getting a feel for what worked and what didn't work across the full spectrum of verticals, initiatives, timelines, budgets, and now do that at DNA, but for startup to mid-stage brands. Since January of 2014, we've worked with over 150 companies. Naturally, with those stage businesses, funding is a large part of the process, and kind of fell into crowdfunding, which then turned into equity crowdfunding. We're running 4 of the top 8 campaigns on the Start Engine at the moment, and constantly looking for new traffic channels that will drive investors to the campaigns.
Great. Eric?
Hello, my name is Eric Vaughn. I'm a CEO of a Box Corporation. It's a second stage startup, having already completed the prototyping phase and product readiness for production. Initially, through the old business ways, I've raised about $1 million or so in capital for that phase. Now we're moving into the phase 2, which is just simply inventory purchase for deliveries. And we're doing a crowdfunding campaign. First onset of looking into this avenue.
Cool, awesome. Well, welcome all of you guys. It's a pleasure to have you, and let's just dive right into it. You mentioned the crowds before and how you have to have a crowd in crowdfunding. So talk to me like I have no idea, which I don't anyway, but explain to me, what is this with a crowd? I mean, like if I'm sitting here and I'm listening to us and I want to raise money, then I'm looking for investors. And is that the same thing? Do I attract them the same way, like for, say, a Kickstarter campaign? This is a question for all of you guys, and anytime, feel free to interject. But what's the difference? What does it mean you need a crowd, and how do you build one?
So for me, when we talk about the crowd, we're talking about people participating in the event, in investing in your company. People are going to give you feedback. There are so many benefits to building a crowd besides the money and the funding that you look at. When you build this crowd, you are building relationships with people who are going to be brand advocates for you. They're going to buy your product. They're going to tell people about your product. And it's important that you build a relationship with those people. It's impossible, or pretty much impossible, to go out and just ask somebody on the street for some money. And if you think about, what you're going to do with a crowdfunding campaign, if you do not build your crowd, you are simply asking some stranger for money. But if you take that stranger, you take the time to build a relationship with them, turn them into a friend, and then you're asking a friend for money. And it's a whole different ballgame. And also, these people, the people, investors, product users, they're going to know what it is that they want, what they want to purchase, so they can give you feedback. There are lots of benefits that you can receive from the crowd. And that's why, for me, it's so important. It's vital to build that crowd. And I think sometimes that's been lost on us in the industry. Not necessarily the people on the other side of the table, but us in the industry, is that we have to build this crowd. And when we build this crowd, what we're doing is we're building relationships. And these people are going to be there through it all. So when we move to the next phase, when we move to our next crowdfunding campaign, they're still going to be there, and they're going to be our friends. And we don't have to go out to look for new clients and customers.
Right on. Jason, how do you actually go about building one? I mean, there are free ways and paid ways, and which are your favorites?
Absolutely. Be able to go over all of that, and can't emphasize how important audience building that community is. When you look at reward-based crowdfunding, it's recommended to do a third of your goal in the first 24 hours of the campaign. If not, there's something like a 70% chance that campaign will fail. It creates social proof right out of the gate. It begins that snowball to hit the goal within the first 30 days of that campaign. There is different obstacles with some equity crowdfunding campaigns about announcing it beforehand. However, audience building is always recommended. Having that community already looking out for your emails, for your social media messages, to receive updates about your company as a whole, and later can be looked at as a potential user/owner, which is what we're seeing on a lot of these Title III campaigns, is highly recommended. So the longer you, 4 to 6 weeks is recommended as a minimum for pre-launch. 3 months to 6 months is a great opportunity to look at it. And essentially, you want to build all your digital platforms, including your website, your social pages, your email community. You want to then start organically. Start with a grassroots effort. Talk to everyone you've ever met and get them to start following your email, get them to start following your social media. If you have a team, get them to do the same. If my brother tells me to follow a page, I'll probably do it. It's something to the extent of asking everyone you know once the campaign's live to A, back the campaign, and B, to share with everybody they know those same 2 requests. And by having that initial offline effort, the digital channels will then allow you to amplify what's occurring offline. That's where media buying can really take place. That's when publishers may begin wanting to talk about you as something's happening. That's when influencers will have a similar response. And basically anywhere there's an existing, engaged, loyal audience, you want to be able to tap into that, whether it's in a pre-launch stage and then particularly during the sprint of the campaign itself.
Yeah, that's very, very true words. Do you want to talk about that pre-launch phase and what steps you should take before you actually launch? Because I bet that many of you guys thinking about launching a campaign, you want to do it rather yesterday than tomorrow because money is tight and you want to get it in as quickly as possible. But how does that work? Like, can you explain why a pre-launch phase and how it actually works?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously emphasizing the pre-launch phase, again, it's typically a misstep for many clients that launch on their own and then come back to us and say, well, we didn't do it well the first time. And there is a path that you need to take, a proven one that our agency has built over the years in terms of what steps need to be taken in order to build up not only credibility in the industry, but conversations, having and giving value well before you go in for the ask. Gary Vaynerchuk's book is, the jab, 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 and then the right hook. It's give, give, give. Give as much value as you can as early as possible to the crowd and community that you're going to then go and ask for a pledge, a donation, a share, whatever it may be. That reciprocation is going to amount to, tenfold for your campaign. Even if they're not backing it, but they're sharing it, that's going out to their small circle of people and then to theirs, and the network effect then happens. So for us, the pre-campaign, for any campaign, we like to begin as soon as possible, whether that's 90 days out or if we have 2 weeks out, but to at least build and start engaging a community wherever they may be. Paid media is typically one of those things, depending on how much time we have, that we truly have to engage in and have significant budget to be able to build up our email marketing list. The email address is the easiest way for us to communicate and engage our community once we've actually cultivated them and, not gone for the ask quite yet, but once the campaign launches. It's much easier and cheaper for us to reach out to that community through email marketing than through paid advertising on Facebook, where we don't know if we're getting true engagement, we're paying for the click or the eyeball. With email, we know that it's getting through, potentially may not be getting read, but through the series of those 0 moments of truth, once they finally capture and you capture their attention, like, yeah, I'm finally going to back this idea, this product, this concept, email marketing is certainly the way to do it, and that's where this crowd comes into play of building out the crowd, segmenting the audience of maybe there's a few different categories of where your product may be used. See if you can filter those out through your email marketing, and then the messaging really needs to be cultivated towards that community, as personalized to them as possible. So, we can't emphasize enough how important the pre-campaign truly is in terms of building that engagement with them and giving as much value as possible before you go in for the ask once the campaign does go live.
Yeah, I sometimes compare it to a rocket launch, right? So once you launch that rocket, there are very little course corrections you can actually make. So it's really all a matter of getting it right before you actually press that launch button. But I would also like to talk to you guys, and maybe we can bring Eric in here then a little bit about what that crowd really is. what I see day in and day out are people who ask me, so where do I find crowdfunding investors? And the thing is that no such thing really exists, right? No one wakes up in the morning and goes like, oh, what a beautiful day. Today I'm going to find myself some equity crowdfunding campaigns to invest in. It doesn't work like that. So, I'm sure you guys hear that too. Is like, do you guys have many investors? Now, if you have email lists, that's one thing, but there really is no way around building that audience. And that audience they're not just your investors. They are also your clients and your biggest fans, and they will spread the word for you like no paid media campaign can ever do. But Eric, so you guys have a campaign live on Start Engine right now. Do you want to tell us how it's going, how you got started, and maybe talk a little bit about the pre-campaign efforts that you guys did?
Yes. Well, I would definitely emphasize the pre-marketing preparation. I had wanted to do more of that before launching our campaign. And I have to say it's very important because for someone like me, I'm not really updated to crowdfunding or social media. I've never run my business that way. It's always been, all the marketing that's been done so far has been just self-generated. So this would be my first actual marketing effort, and just simply email lists and stuff I've never put together. And in putting all this together, like now it can seem as we can have some fun with this. We have a lot of existing marketing to play off of and things we can leverage. But as far as like who the investing crowd is, there isn't really a crowd. You have to make it. I can see that right away. And it will start from your fans, your followers, people that you've done business with in the past, I believe. And but marketing is essential. I think and you can have probably a really good campaign when you have a base of existing product and technologies you've done in places and things in place, some base marketing of the company, and then doing a crowdfunding campaign on top of that. That's where I think our angle is. But yes, definitely pre-market preparation as much as you can, and then you have to work all the channels when it's live.
Channels, all the channels, all the time, day and night. There are no breaks, right? I mean, it's not just a contact sport, but it's also a 24/7 kind of endeavor.
I mean, I've never used Twitter before, so this is going to take.
I think this is a big thing, and I want to ask you guys. I mean, I'm sure
Joseph, we have a question here in the audience. If you'd like to jump there.
Sorry, yes, please.
Yeah. You asked it. You said go ahead and interject, so we're going to interject.
Yes, please.
All right, let's go ahead. Give us your name.
Hi, I'm David Willis. I'm the CEO of a company called That Christmas Movie. And we had a campaign on Start Engine, started early this year. We, like you, knew nothing about marketing. We're making money for an independent film. And we knew nothing, and we could not announce that we were raising money because it's Reg CF and you can't say anything. So there is no pre-campaign PR. We realized in retrospect we could have just raised awareness about the movie, but we decided that there's no call to action, so we weren't going to waste resources. So as we got money in, we started getting Facebook ads, and we ended up raising $226,000 successfully on that, and now we have a current campaign that just reached $100,000. So it's working. The Facebook ads are working, and everyone we talk to, and we also use email campaign too, which is painfully slow, but when it works, they get enthusiastic, and then they get more people. So my question is, all the experts we talk to, and some marketing companies, by the way, wouldn't work with us because they didn't know how to do Reg CF. And you say you're new to Reg CF right now? Yeah. Okay, well, we would have loved to somebody like that 4 months ago. But so my question is, what is another way besides Facebook? All the experts we talked to said that every other form of advertising will not will not build a crowd, which, and by the way, I agree totally with you guys. We had no crowd when we started. Now we've got 800 odd investors, et cetera, and totally agreeing with everything you're saying. But is there a third tool besides Facebook and emails?
That's a great question, man. I'm going to give this to you right now, so please go ahead.
Yeah, well, first off, congrats on your campaign and launching it. That's obviously a difficult first step. So glad you took that step. In terms of additional marketing opportunities, as you mentioned, you said you had an email list. There's a lot of things that you can do with that email list. One of those things is dumping that into Facebook and building an audience directly around that. You can also do that with Google. Same thing. Dump that list into Google. You can build a list off of that and target people directly through there. An additional opportunity would be remarketing. Any visitors or traffic that you get to any profiles, websites, et cetera, that you own, you can simply put a cookie on that property, and then all of those visitors that come to it, you can then track and see where else they're going. Where are they getting their news? Where are they watching the weather? Where are they congregating, wherever it may be, and build profiles around those individuals, personas, if you will, and then figure out how to then target those folks on different content sites, on different news sites, whatever it may be. Additional content opportunities would be potentially sites like Taboola or Outbrain. Those allow you access onto high trafficked websites, kind of on the bottom where it's almost clickbaity, but you can get and gather interest, from lookalike audiences that potentially fit the audiences that you're then getting traffic from, or, understanding what that community looks like that's visiting your website or any other properties that you may own or are partners with. And then lastly, partnerships. Anybody that's in your space that potentially you could get into their email newsletter, onto their social media channels, leverage those partnerships that you've already worked with. Maybe it's some of your vendors that you have working on the film. See how you can leverage those properties and anything that they own to leverage and gain more traction for your campaign. Okay, I have another question here.
My name's Tim Sharif. I own multiple brands, 310 Nutrition, Cashmere Collections, Beachwood Essentials. I have a big staff, over 100 people here in Vegas and in LA. We've searched out, this is, Vika here is one of my project managers, we're here. We've searched out agencies to do crowdfunding. You guys that are talking about Facebook advertising, there's no other platform right now that has advertising like Facebook. We spend huge amounts of money daily on Facebook, and the retargeting and all of these things that you talk about, a lot of agencies are trying to give you those kind of things towards crowdfunding, but we do them better than any agency. I mean, I've used agencies in the past, right? So we have an in-house staff of elite marketers. We've never done crowdfunding. If you were trying to find, which this might be a plug for any of you in here that know crowdfunding, we are hiring for that space. But how would you even find a project manager that has done something like this? Is there Facebook groups of crowdfunding people that are big? I mean, our communities have hundreds of thousands, 100,000+ people in our communities. We already have the crowd. We have all these assets. But as you know, when companies are growing like us, we're doing a million things. We need to find expertise, and preferably in-house, full-time dedicated people. But we're open to agencies. How would you find someone in a company like many of these owners might have to hire to do a crowdfunding campaign or multiple crowdfunding campaigns if you're an incubator-style company like ours?
I'll jump on this again. So actually, Indiegogo, who I know is a sponsor here, as well as Kickstarter, have both launched expert communities on their sites. So if you go to basically the footer on Indiegogo and Kickstarter, there are vetted professionals and agencies like ours that are listed on there to help out people that are looking to launch campaigns. Outside of that, that's really the only directory, if you will, of actually truly vetted individual consultants and agencies that are on there that the platforms have approved to do the marketing for campaigns.
Yeah, I would speak to the platform you're looking to run it on directly. They probably have groups that have excellent proven strategies and potentially data for those platforms specifically. Otherwise, those are great databases. There's a lot of professionals here as well to speak with. And we do a lot of Google searches on LinkedIn, different types of platforms. And when doing a marketing strategy in general, competitor audit is one of the most important parts to us. I would look at which agencies have run other successful campaigns that you're seeing and look to have a dialogue, a conversation with them, if nothing else. That way you can look for different tips and maybe even find a partner through those methods.
I'd like to add, just from a business perspective, I would say that crowdfunding, you're still in the act of advertising your product and your company. And I think the crowdfunding campaign is basically a practice run at that. And you need to keep to that focus and not just be focusing looking at investors, but actually actively focusing on marketing your product and then staging it for your campaign, and this will warm it up. I believe that's an important focus to keep. Just you are advertising your product, your company, and it's not so much about advertising for investors. It's your company, so that's your first run at doing that, because after you're raised and you're selling your product, you'll still be needing to do the same thing.
I knew when we were going to ask for questions, it was going to be all over. Go ahead, Joseph.
I think if you want to hire someone in-house, I think people get lost in this whole idea that this is crowdfunding and it's oh so special. It's really not. It's online marketing. It's about finding traffic, sending it to a destination, and converting it. It's the same. If you find anyone who is experienced in online marketing and successful, they can learn the unique aspects of what makes a crowdfunding campaign successful, what kind of messaging can I use and what kind of not use, which is something that I really want to talk to you guys about, because that's important. But if you want to hire someone, just hire a marketing pro, just someone who's really, really successful and good at that, and they can learn the rest.
All right, we have another question on this side, right here. Your name?
Hi, good afternoon. Joseph Landesman with Lloyd Jones Capital. We're a real estate private equity firm. We are launching our senior housing fund, and we're entertaining crowdfunding and looking into the marketing there. So I know, Bill, you mentioned that you're receiving feedback. So I was wondering if the panel, and specifically Bill, can answer these. What product and service is not necessarily appropriate for crowdfunding? Or have you ever entertained where one asset class or one group may not be the best one? And Bill, specifically, what type of feedback have you received? And when you said the crowd gave you feedback, when it's your product, your service, and now they're providing you feedback, you said, and what type of feedback are you looking to receive when you said you were looking for it?
So you're looking, you're looking to receive feedback on the product, on what it is that you're putting out there. Because when we talk about the crowd, we're not just talking about investors. We're talking about people who believe in you. We're talking about people who are supporting you, who want to see you be successful. So these people are going to be willing to communicate with you. When we talk about marketing and social media, we have to remember that when we're talking about social media, you're talking about this one-to-many relationship, but it's also a many-to-one relationship. So you want to create engagement. You want to talk to people. Long before you start asking people for money, you want to get people's feedback. You want to get, what is it that people are looking for really? Maybe there's a tweak that just needs to happen to your product, and they can help you with that prior to you asking them for money. So it's about a conversation. It's about engaging people and exciting people. If you don't do that initially as you build your email list, as you build that email list, you need to nurture these people. You need to have these, dialogues with people. Let them know, this is what it is that I'm trying to do. Can you help me get there? It's not all about saying, okay, listen, I have this product and it's the best product in the world and I need you to provide some money for me. It's not about that. It's about engaging and exciting people. I tell people all the time, there's one fundamental rule in crowdfunding. It doesn't matter what type of crowdfunding it is. If you do not build an excited and engaged crowd, you are not going to get the funding that you're looking for. So what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need help with? Why are people not engaging with you? And when they do engage with you, what is it that they tell you? Listen to people and engage with them. So that's the kind of feedback that I'm talking about. Whatever the product is and whatever kind of product you need, feedback you need to maybe make it better. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the value of the crowd, seeing beyond the funding and being able to see this crowd as part of your business and your organization, and them seeing themselves as part of what it is that you're doing. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And what type of product services may not be the best one for crowdfunding, or you found that anything and all can work on a crowdfunding?
Right, because it's this conversation just like we're having right now. And those are the kind of conversations that you have to have with people, because these people believe in you and they're investing in you just as much as they're investing in whatever the product is. Probably, if you're talking about the Title III, a lot of these people are probably not only going to be investors, they're going to be people who buy your product. So they're going to be brand advocates, and they're going to tell everybody that they know about this product. So those are the kind of conversations that you want to have. These investors / clients, there's a different relationship when you build a crowd as opposed to just asking or looking for investors.
Thank you.
I want to talk about messaging real quick because this is really important. And we all started, in the Kickstarter, Indiegogo arena where you can say pretty much anything you want. And it's very much not like that in the equity space. Maybe Roy, let me start with you. Like, what are like the main differences between the messaging of a Kickstarter pre-campaign and a Title III or a Reg A Plus pre-campaign? What can I tell my crowd and what can I not say to not shoot myself in the foot?
So I'm not an attorney.
Yeah, he's not. Footnote, he's not an attorney.
So we've done, majority we cut our teeth on crowdfunding on the reward side. We've done a handful of equity crowdfunding campaigns, and usually we go with mum is the word in terms of before launching an equity crowdfunding campaign, simply because the rules state, certain tombstone pieces of content can be produced beforehand, or raising that anticipation of the crowd, or soliciting anything from even friends and family or anything of that nature, no monetary saying you're going to get X return from any of that. So we have to be very careful in terms of what content we're producing beforehand and not priming the crowd for the campaign being launched in terms of really increasing our advertising or driving traffic to certain pages that may or may not have offering statements on them. So we're very much on the side of being careful in terms of what we do say before the campaign ever launches. And most of the marketing material does get pre-approved, whether it be by the attorney or the SEC on the equity side. But as you said, on the reward side, anything goes for the most part, and that's where we focused on.
So how do you build, say, an email list for an upcoming Reg A Plus raise in 3 months from now when you can't say that you're raising money? Jason, what do you do?
Sure. So you want to be building an audience in general. As mentioned, owner users. And some of the best Reg CF campaigns are from those audiences. Someone who's going to frequent your business, someone who's going to buy from you regularly online, be proud of it, and also wants to own a piece of the company. So why can you not promote to them on a marketing sense? Just speaking directly to the brand, directly to the product, and then when the announcement comes further down the line, that jab, jab, punch really comes to work. The whole marketing funnel. We should talk about the marketing funnel for a second because it's so closely tied to pre-launch. Not everyone likes buying something right on the spot, even more so with investing. So you look at it as a marketing funnel, with the top of the funnel being awareness, moving down to consideration, to intent, to conversion. In this case, will eventually be an investment. In the pre-launch stage, can actually be an email sign up, and keep getting them until you hit that email sign up. Repeat conversion is further down the funnel, and we do see that in equity campaigns and reward campaigns, particularly as a campaign's close to hitting its goal. And then from there, the ultimate advocacy, peer-to-peer marketing. Again, your friends are your biggest influencers. So if you have people talking, ultimately selling on your behalf, that's where you're really going to see your marketing take off. Now, how do you get people in the funnel, and then further and further down the funnel is the real question. And I mentioned marketing strategy earlier. I recommend planning this all out ahead of time. And then marketing is all about test, optimize, scale. Test, optimize, scale. You're always testing. And even when something's working, you're finding a percentage of your efforts, of your allocations, to then test new things so that you're not stuck on any one tactic. So email, and starting with your existing email audience and starting to get them engaged. We've done a lot of Facebook ads to landing pages. There's excellent platforms to create landing pages. We've used the Crowdster platform at times. Indiegogo now has its own landing page. There's a whole list of different landing page templates. Very easy to create a landing page, and you could ultimately do a elevator pitch on there where you have your hero image, your hero text at the top, social proof, bullets on what the product is, more social proof, maybe some testimonials from down the line, and based on the campaign, on investors. Again, get everything approved by legal. I can't advise on that. My general counsel, I could hear him yelling in the back of my head as I start thinking about legal. But get everything approved for your actual type of campaign. But from there, you want to A/B test every type of your marketing. Some would argue that's the most valuable part of the pre-launch, is being able to test out what's working for you so you can really drive it during the campaign itself. So anything and everything you want to test out to drive to a landing page so you could start squeezing email addresses, maybe have them in a drip campaign, and if nothing else, have them in an email newsletter that's leading up to your launch, to your updates throughout the launch, and to all marketing promotions moving forward.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks, man. Please go ahead.
I wanted to say, when you talk about building email lists and landing pages, and of course using Facebook ads, one of the things that I like to do is I like to drive people to the landing page using the Facebook ads, and then try to convert them with some type of information or some type of trade so that I can get that email address. So that's where we begin when we talk about that funnel. Another thing that hasn't been mentioned that I really like is Twitter. Twitter is a great place for me, where you can really go out and you can find potential people who are going to be interested in the campaign later down the funnel, because you can engage with people one-to-one. I think Twitter is a great place to engage with people. It's a great place to listen. If you use your hashtags properly, you can find your audience and you can narrow that down. And all of this is free of charge. Of course, you have to put your time in, but you don't have to buy the ads. I think that's a great place to really put a lot of time in is in Twitter, because what you can also find on Twitter is you'll find that a lot of bloggers and a lot of journalists are there. And the value with these bloggers and journalists is they've already built these one-to-many relationships, and they're trust-based, right? So if a blogger or journalist says something, then that may drive some traffic. So I think that, that I hadn't heard Twitter mentioned, and I think Twitter's a very powerful platform as well.
Joseph, we have a whole lot of hands going up with questions.
Questions, please.
All right, here we go. What's your name?
Anthony. Hi, Anthony. I'm a founder of EVIP Entertainment. We invest, and in fact, I invested in a company and under the Title III, and we had a successful launch. We were actually oversubscribed. I don't know, I guess you've heard of us, Legion M. But anyway, my question is, I know that you guys are talking about Facebook ads and email, but how about using social media influencers? Because I'm launching another campaign, and I'm thinking, what if I hire a bunch of social media influencers to drive the traffic? Now, is that something that is within this space that you guys are discussing, or it's a totally separate thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's just our space. Who wants to jump in first? Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that. So last week, I believe both Google and Microsoft filed patents on influencers, on terms of finding out what their influence is, on what industries, what keywords, et cetera. So influencers in that whole space is basically, if you're any SEOs in here, it's kind of the link building 10 years ago, where now you can find these influencers and build your authority off of their credibility, right? So we use influencers quite often when we run reward-based crowdfunding campaigns. They can reach extended audiences that we just simply can't tap into. But my word of caution is, obviously, there's an easy way to build fake followings out there, and being able to reverse engineer previous posts that they've done or previous campaigns that they've done, really do your due diligence on that to see if there really was actionable action taken from their message, their tweet, their Facebook post, whatever they promoted, their YouTube video, et cetera, from, for the client that they did it for.
All right, we have another question over here. Oh, go ahead, Mr. Fishman. Go ahead, you had something to say about that, go ahead.
Yeah, influencer marketing, going back to the social proof, tapping into a loyal, engaged audience is huge. There's different tiers of influencers. Some people think celebrities. I would look more at engagement rates as being pointed out here. Celebrities could be used for social proof as well. One of the campaigns we're running is a solar company using Bill Nye. It speaks highly to the validation of their product. Those type of opportunities are great, particularly if there's large existing audiences you could tap into. The thing I would warn about influencer marketing in general is it can be hit or miss in terms of awareness versus direct response. Meaning, you'll get great media value from any paid influencer activations. You'll even be able to find influencers who just want to get involved and won't present a rate card to you. But the actual direct response can vary. And so we'll always approach an influencer marketing campaign with 10 plus influencers ranging from different verticals so we can see how they perform against each other. We'll look to identify them based on searching hashtags and who's getting the most engagement. There's a whole list of different social listening and influencer marketing tools to identify these type of individuals. They generally have an email address or a website with a submission form to get in contact with them. Definitely something I would test out, and again, something to measure whether you're just getting a lot of impressions and initial engagements, or if you're able to actually identify converting traffic within a 24-hour period of each activation.
All right, we have a question on this side now. Sorry, we have to move on. So right here, your name, please?
Kachita Hines. Hi, I run a digital marketing company, Style on the Spot, and have had a lot of background in entertainment. And I really appreciated his question because I do think that the social influencers, a lot of my clients are coming to me and wanting to go that route. I've seen some positive, some negative, but I'd love to hear from each of you a specific campaign that was really successful, and if you could explain why it was successful. Did you use an influencer? Was there one particular social media outlet, whether it was Instagram that you focused on or Facebook? And if I feel like with all of your expertise, it'd be great to hear something that worked for you. I know not everybody wants to give away their secrets, but if you could share something, that'd be great.
Well, what I would say is that it's about a strategy. It's about putting a strategy together, implementing that strategy, testing that strategy, and making those adjustments on the fly. One thing about digital marketing is that it allows you to measure everything. So you measure everything and you make the adjustments as you need to make those adjustments. One thing I would say about the influencer marketing, and this is kind of why I mentioned Twitter, there are definitely ways that you can find influencers, bloggers on Twitter, and you can engage with them without necessarily having to put that upfront money down first. There's software packages out there where you can find out, what type of engagement these people are getting, because you have 100,000 followers. But if that influencer says something and and the people they're not influenced by it, it doesn't matter how many followers they have because those people aren't listening to it. So I think it's important to do your due diligence, that you measure everything and that you put a complete strategy together. I think that it's important in that pre-launch phase to really blog so you can put that information out there and let people know what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're talking about, and start to build that one-to-many engagement, but also to get the feedback from those people. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there's one thing that works better than anything. I think that you create a strategy, and around that strategy you put everything together, and that's how you get your best results.
I can give a real world example. So we just finished our 21st $1 million Kickstarter Indiegogo campaign. It was for a woman's high heel shoe called Antonia St. New York. And the unique aspect of this product was that it's a custom molded high heel shoe. So nothing had come to market yet, something like that. So what we were able to do is find the most influential people, females in the space in fashion, basically, and reach out to them through different engagement points, some through YouTube, many through Instagram, some through Twitter. That campaign just ended last week, and we ended up raising $1.8 million for it from about 7,000 backers.
I have a couple more questions. I know that I don't want to get in the way of the panel, Joseph. So over here on your left side, right here in front of the screen, your name, sir.
Hi, I'm Gene Massey with Media Shares.
Hello, Gene.
One of my clients had a similar problem that David Willis had with the not being able to build a crowd before you launch. And I forgot who told me. They came up with the idea of doing a Reg A, test the waters. And so by testing the waters under Reg A, you can build a crowd and then change your mind later and do the Reg CF after you've accumulated a crowd. Is that, what is your opinion on that?
Jason?
Test the waters I've seen to be very effective for some of our Reg A Plus campaigns. It's allowed us to fully test marketing channels, to validate performance, in some cases to drive over $7 million in reservations, and then look to get 30% of those reservations to turn into actual investments within a 3-month window of time, which are some metrics that were provided to us by platforms and the goal benchmarks that we work off of. That being said, I've seen test the water campaigns not produce at the same levels. There's variables with any campaign as a whole. On the Reg CF side, we've done very large Facebook audience building campaigns targeting accredited investors, using household income targeting data, using net worth targeting data. With Facebook ads, we set up, initially 10 different ad sets. We have campaigns where we have thousands of ad sets running. So we're able to be very specific about who we're growing that Facebook audience with. And if we're going after an investor audience and looking to grow their Facebook audience just about a product in general, and maybe we're doing a narrow audience where we're saying, hey, only accredited investors who follow, Internet of Things devices on Facebook. That's telling us these are potential investors for our company if it's an Internet of Things company. So there's methods like that where you're building an audience and being focused and pouring people into the funnel. Lead generation as a whole, I forgot to mention beyond landing pages, there's lead form ads on Facebook as well. You'd have to have a line of messaging, an initiative, a contest, a concept where people would be looking to give you their email addresses. There's some immediate value for them that doesn't announce the actual investment, but a great way to do list building. My mind was trying to say contests there. Social contests are another great way to do this. Gleam.io is one that we've used regularly. There's a whole list of different social contest tools, even ones specifically for crowdfunding that are excellent, and they're all based around peer-to-peer marketing and social sharing. The best is if you're offering something money can't buy, some type of experience. You'll see strong followings, particularly if you combine it with an influencer and you're reaching out to their initial audience. And you'd want to map all of this out in the strategy stage, compare Title III versus Reg A, because there's obstacles with Reg A as well in terms of administration and getting set up and going through all the audits. But from there, finding a marketing strategy that you're ready to activate and then managing, aka pivoting throughout the process.
We're witnessing social influencing right now at Crowd Invest Summit. Look at all the people standing around me. They want to ask questions, so I must be an influencer of some kind because it's working here. Everyone here wants to ask a question, and the value proposition is, I have access to these guys. You want to ask a question? All right, I think you were first. Yeah. yeah. See, I'm getting some money for this.
Some Bitcoins. So first, before I ask the question, I'd like everyone to open up their browser, go to republic.co/geostellar, and drop some coins in the hat. We're under Title III, we're at about 220,000, and would like to hit $1 million in a couple days.
Right after this panel.
My question, we got a big boost from a paid newsletter, Early Stage Investor, or First Stage Investor. And we'd like to replicate that effect by buying lists. We've looked at ones like Zach's investment, we get from Motley Fool, et cetera. Has anyone seen if targeting actual investors works as opposed to targeting your customers and other people within your broader circle?
Are you talking about buying lists and emailing them?
Right, exactly. Like Zach's Investing Network has, they send out stock advice. They have high net worth individual lists. They have real estate lists. They have crowd investing lists. So, you pay 10 cents just as a way to, all the traditional ways you've talked about building lists through all kinds of campaigns. that's something we're really familiar with. We're just contemplating this idea of, I'm just wondering if you know of any lists out there that are people who are specifically, like Crowdability sends, they can move a lot of people, but you can't buy their list. They have to recommend you. And I'm wondering if you guys know of any lists that are just worth actually marketing to.
So generally speaking, don't go there. Buying email lists and sending them out is not only illegal, it can also really, really hurt your reputation. These are people who did not opt in to hear from you. These are people who don't know who you are. If you import a list like this to MailChimp and then send it out to 100,000 people, their AI will actually shut it down before it even goes out. Lists like this are very, very dangerous. Look, if you know what they are, you use it for...
It's Zach's would send it out. It's not like we get the
you
list.
pay them to send it out.
Yeah,
okay, a sponsored thing.
Yeah,
that's a different story then, but then you're not buying the list. You're
Right,
buying...
no, I'm just wondering if you know of any services. So early stage investing, Crowdability, people pay, $45 a year or whatever. They send recommendations. That's worked really well for us, but there's a limited number of those. I'm wondering if you guys know of any newsletters that basically you can pay, as a sponsored blast to those.
Right. So before I answer this, I'm going to ask you then too if you want to answer it. But from my experience, these service providers that sell you your spots on their newsletters and such, they're just as utterly ineffective as those newsletters that platforms claim they have. I'm not going to drop any names, but pretty much every platform out there will tell you that they have 25,000, 50,000, 100,000 investors on their list. Now, what happens is you send that list once, you mail it twice, 3 times, 15 times. No one opens that thing anymore. There's a thing called ghost spam, which basically are ghost unfollowers. There's people that aren't actively unsubscribing from your list, but they're not opening it anymore. It goes straight to the trash, and that's what usually happens. Maybe you guys know someone who has lists who don't have these characteristics, but I have never seen this work.
Yeah, we've never recommended buying lists. You could do a simple Google search query, right? Key phrase, crowdfunding investors, put it in quotes, and then plus sponsorship, plus promotions, plus email, newsletter, and just do a simple query that way to be able to find people that potentially have newsletters that you could potentially do a promotion or an advertising option in.
Excuse me, I've never had any success with that at all.
Okay, it's unanimous. We're going to probably take one more question and then let you finish
No,
up,
I
Joseph.
have a few questions, but I think this is more interesting to the audience. So
I'm telling you, they're really, really
I'm happy to answer the audience questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Steve Morris from BioLife 4D. I have a question I'd appreciate if maybe each of you can give me your thought on real quickly. It's regarding timing. My background is really dealing with accredited investors and high net worth individuals. We're going to be doing a A-plus offering, or launching an A-plus offering, and we're a bit concerned about the timing. It looks as if we're able to potentially be able to launch come November, something like that. And I wanted to know if you had any thoughts as far as maybe before the holidays, or do you find that the holidays is a positive influence or a negative influence with accredited investors? I'm sure it doesn't make a difference what time of year, because they if they've got money to invest and they find the right investment, they're going to invest. But with the general crowd and that we're going to be looking to reach out to, do you think that perhaps the holidays, I could see it going either way, the holidays are extra in a giving mood, or they could say, I need to save my $250 to buy presents for my kids. So I was wondering if you thought I know there's not a lot of data because it's not been around for that long, but the seasonality, do you think that the holiday season has an effect, and if so, which way?
Good question. Not a great answer. It's hit or miss. I've run campaigns in the holidays that have done great. I've run campaigns in the holidays where The traffic wasn't converting. With any of these, I'll go back to that test, optimize, and scale. With the Reg A, you're looking at 12 months before your next filing, so you would want to test different traffic channels, look to see how they're producing for you every step of the way down the algorithm with the focus on the CPA, the cost per acquisition of each investor. From there, you could determine how much you want to spend on a daily and monthly basis. You may want to pace at a lower level during the holiday season if you don't see it producing for you. You may be able to find some messaging reflecting what you just said that speaks to investors during that time of year that actually works very well, and you may find a uniquely low cost per acquisition. And if it's a positive return on ad spend and really showing the results, you'd want to see how much you can scale it, how much inventory from those audiences there is to actually drive further results from there.
Okay, we're going to do one more question, then I'll turn it back over to you, Joseph. Yes, sir.
Hi, this is Alan Breiter, and I have an agency called Pitch Point. We specialize in visual communication campaigns. And my question is, I met a guy a few years ago that started one of the first crowdfunding platforms in Australia. And he told me that he noticed that whoever had videos on their campaign, they were the ones getting the funding. So my question is, in your experience, to do an effective crowdfunding campaign, should you have a video, and should it be professionally done?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You need a video, and I wouldn't focus too much on Hollywood-style production quality. I don't think that's the goal, really. I mean, people understand that you are raising money, and you shouldn't waste money on over-the-top video production. But it needs to be professional, and it's not even a question anymore whether or not you want to have a video. You just need one, right?
Absolutely. No, you definitely have to have that video. I mean, that's the emotional pull typically that we see most campaigns have in terms of resonating with the right audience, right? So there's a lot of testing there that you can go do with the funnel in terms of testing multiple different messaging styles in your video. See what resonates, see what gets engagement, and test those things. But yeah, it's without question now you have to have that video. Quality isn't as important as much as the messaging.
Cool. We have 2.5 minutes. More questions?
If I could real quick about the video, my question about the video wouldn't be if I have to have one, but it would be how many videos that I make in trying to drive traffic to that funnel. Certainly video. I think I read a stat that said by 2020, about 70% of all the content that's going to be on the internet is going to be video based. So yeah, you definitely have to have video. It's about how many.
It's all Pornhub, my friend.
And you want to find ways to customize the video as well. If you're doing a video series, if you're doing video ads, picture 20 video ads to 20 different audiences and speaking to each one of those audiences in a more customized fashion.
All right, one last question here. Name, sir?
My name is Andrei Chabmanov, and I'm a co-founder of Trelp. It's a mobile app. Hello? Yeah, mobile app for crowdsourcing information for last mile directions for truck drivers and truck parking, which is a huge issue within the industry. So the question is crowdfunding a good strategy for, and we're looking to raise but 1.5 million. Is it a good strategy for a mobile app, basically funding, and what is the best way for valuation, and do we give away equity for crowdfunding?
Basically to build a mobile app, right?
What's that?
To build a mobile app for your service.
Have you raised money for mobile apps?
Yeah, so last year we actually had Marcus Lemonis, the CNBC Crowd Finance Index, the #1 campaign last year for a company called Digits. That was a mobile app API for payment processing at the time. Ended up raising just under 15 million on Crowdfunder. So it's certainly doable. It's difficult. We've never been able to replicate that success, but it all goes down to the story, the pitch, the product that you have, as well as the CEO. I know James was talking about that earlier this morning, but has that CEO done it before, right? Has this company, is this something that this is their first go of it, or something that they've done before and they're looking to replicate that in another industry? And that's really where we found most investors resonate with that story in terms of the CEO and the team. Those products can do better, especially with a mobile app, not necessarily with a physical product.
Right on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. In fact, we are raising 1.5 million. So
nice.
Congrats.
Awesome. Congrats. Eric, Jason, Bill, Roy, thank you guys very much. Our time is up. It's been a pleasure as always.